alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef.
And my name is Vania.
And pull us out.
Yes, pull us out. Yeah.
We swear it's not in that way. It's different. We don't mean it in a sexual way, okay? Oh my god.
But
jeez, not even 30 seconds in, and already you're up to some weird shit.
Oh yeah. Drinking Coca-Cola, zero sugar, like a flat, it's whatever. Either way, so we're going to be talking about today about the movie Possessor.
Yeah.
And it is a very strange movie. I was very confused. I consider it a type of sci-fi horror, if you will. It is, very trippy. So
yeah.
We're going to be walking through it, and by walking through it, I mean Yusuf's going to probably remember most of it because I was mostly trying to find the way to process what the fuck happened, but here we are. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into like the nitty gritty, like deep into the deep dive into it, let me give you just the basic overview of the film itself. So like Vani said, the film is called Possessor. It actually came out last year. And it was directed by Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg, who is most known for directing The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. And you can definitely see the influence, like the body horror. The patented Cronenberg body horror that shows up is also in Possessor.
Fly, though. The Fly was really cool.
Oh,
it was a little weird. The Fly is weird because of the birth of the alien insect child, but other than that, I definitely see the influence.
Oh yeah. But the basic premise of the film is this woman who is an assassin for hire. But what's different is when she gets sent out, when she gets a target to kill, what they do is they hook her up to this machine that transfers her consciousness into another body, like the body of a person that knows the target, so they can be a chameleon and literally become that person and blend in and use that to get closer to their target and kill them. Which is just like really weird. It's really very sci-fi, and I love that.
Yeah. I think like the part of this movie that hooked me the most is definitely like the beginning where you're just confused because you're like, why are we feeling our head? Why are we inserting something into our head? Okay, things are happening. What the?
Yeah. It's a trip. Like,
for sure.
This movie is a straight up mindfuck. Like, I'm not gonna lie. At one point during some of the visuals, I was like, "Holy shit! This movie is ridiculous. It's insane."
Intense.
It is intense. Yeah, sure. It's like it's a visually stunning movie, and it's also a visually disturbing movie because it shows like a weird amount of shit in there.
Mm-hmm.
But something funny enough, before we get into the deep dive, all the stuff that you see like visually, it's all practical effects that were done on camera. Like none of it's CGI. So that's, if you see the movie and you see those visuals, it's very surprising that it's all practical. It does not look practical. Like the way they play with the camera, because even like the visual like effect to it, like the filters, those were all done on camera. Like there's no editing done to that. That was an on-camera trick that they did.
Very cool. See, This is why I think old style filmmaking and sometimes will always still be superior.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, CGI does its thing. It gets the job done. It does things that are normally able to do, but when you're trying to conform or constrict yourself to practical effects, it lets you be a lot more creative. Because you're like, okay, how can I show this in a very believable way? And Possessor does this perfectly.
But I agree for sure.
Yeah.
It tripped me out.
Oh yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and just do a crazy deep dive into this lovely, horrific, disturbing film.
Yeah.
So the movie starts with this woman literally plugging like an aux cord into the back of her head, and then she has like this little like Walkman looking thing and starts like turning up the volume on it, and you hear like this high pitched ringing, and the woman starts crying, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
I think like during this part of the scene, I like the only thing that I kind of pulled out from it is that as they're like tuning into like you know that little thing that they're
Mm-hmm.
using the dial for, it's like they're tuning into the different emotions to like channel it like just right.
Yeah.
Like you see her going from crying to smiling to laughing to anger.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a whole mix of emotions, and you're like,
What the
are
fuck?
you crazy? Are you a robot?
Yeah.
I don't understand. How does this work?
And what's interesting too is later on they explain why they do what they do in the movie. It's literally because you're essentially controlling this person, and what you're doing is just recalibrating, like to their consciousness, almost like you're resetting type of thing. So
Dang.
that was really weird. But after that, we see her go into what looks almost like a party at a hotel. I think it was,
Yeah.
and this woman and her friend, who were both dressed identically in these blue tracksuits, just in the middle of this weird party.
Yeah, I think
Just
they kind of looked like some type of well, at least this is my take on it, that there was like some type of like sex trafficking in a sense,
okay.
like yeah, because of the way that they said, oh, like you say this, you don't say that, and
Could
then
be.
that one, and then obviously the woman that we see in the beginning is like, trying to process everything and
Hmm.
kind of following her because the other person was telling her what to do, and I was just like, oh, like are they are they in trouble?
Like maybe they're
Are
like
they?
yeah, they're like escorts or something.
Yeah.
Like something like that, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're going into this like party area, and the woman that we've been following since the beginning just goes straight up to this guy and stabs him in the neck, like in the jugular. And of course, this man is
Yeah.
just bleeding out. Everybody's screaming. It's pure chaos because this girl just comes out of nowhere, randomly just attacks this guy. But, after she stabs him in the neck, it doesn't stop there. She just stabs continuously. Like over and over and over and over again. Like she stabs this man like another 15 to 20 times. And it's ridiculous because there's just blood everywhere. And
Insane amount
also
of blood.
a ridiculous amounts of blood. This movie is insanely gory.
Mm.
Um, but one of the things I liked about the cinematography here is when you first get that first knife hit, like the first stabbing, it gives you like this really intense close up of the knife going into the neck, and you're like, oof, nope, it's too much. Like
Yeah.
I'm happy it's only like a 2 second shot because it's like way up in there.
Yeah, it was the fact is that she in this film we also do see that does have another secondary weapon, which is a gun. And it seems like she was supposed to. We kind of get the gist in the scene that she was supposed to use the gun rather than the knife, but
Yeah.
she's like, I want this to be a very painful death, not a quick and nice one, a painful one. So decided the second option, the knife, just to have him bleed out more. And then, of course,
Hmm.
she pulls out the gun. I think it was like she was trying to. She shoots him to make sure that he's dead. I
Yeah,
think.
she like double taps him pretty much.
Yeah, and then she starts, putting it like in her mouth, almost like threatening to like shoot herself. And you think that she just killed him and she's about to kill herself, but she doesn't.
Yeah.
She hesitates, puts the gun down, and then the authorities show up.
Hmm.
And
And they shoot her down in a mess.
yep.
But what's interesting about that is like right before she puts the gun to her mouth, you hear her say the words "pull me out." So you're like, okay, interesting, weird. And of
Yeah.
course, she puts a gun in her mouth, can't go through with it, gets killed. And that's when we cut to our, I guess would be our protagonist. It's kind of weird to
Yeah.
describe like who is the main character in this film, because it could be this person, it could also be the person that is in the majority of the movie. It's like
Yeah.
hard to describe that, but yeah, they get pulled out of this machine, and that's when they're told like, oh, like why didn't you use the gun like you were supposed to? And that's when they kind of figure out that she is just becoming more and more violent. Like she just has bloodlust at this point. Like she just kills for the enjoyment of killing.
Yeah.
Um, and this is when we notice that the basic premise is that she is that killer for hire, and she just takes over people's bodies and uses them as to kill their target, which is why the movie's called Possessor, because they essentially possess that person, which is really interesting. Um, then we get
Interesting word choice of title for me.
oh yeah. What's also
Hmm.
really interesting about the film too is in this section, in this next scene, is that they're like interviewing her, and it's essentially to kind of figure out her state of mind, make sure that her mind is all there, like a piece of her didn't get stuck in the old body or something like that. So that
Yeah.
like she has like a little box of objects, and it's like, oh, like, do you know what this object is? And it's like, oh yes, this is a pipe that was my grandfather's, and my father gave it to me, and that kind of stuff. And then she has this little taxidermy
Okay.
butterfly, and
Yeah.
it's a butterfly that she says she killed as a little girl and nailed. So like it's taxidermy
Yeah.
it herself, and she says, "I still feel guilty about doing that," which is very interesting because we'll get to why that's interesting later on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that's when she talks. I guess it would be like her manager or her like caseworker, pretty much the person that like kind of gives her targets and like tells her like what to do, and like what like gives her information on what they need to be doing, like that kind of stuff. She's like, yeah, like I want to take some time off. I want to be with my family for some time and just do that
Yeah.
thing. So they're like, all right, go ahead, spend time with your family, do whatever you want. So she goes home, and that's when we get another interesting scene. Before she even gets to the house, she's just standing in front of it, and she is rehearsing what she's going to be saying to the family, almost like she is pretending to be this person. Like she's testing out the words and like how to say them. Like, oh, yeah, I'm starving, or yeah, I'm starving. Like she's just like trying out different ways of how to say words, almost like she's practicing when she's becoming one of the people that she possesses.
Yeah.
So it's weird because maybe like she's kind of losing her grip on who she is, because who knows how long she's been doing this kind of stuff. And that to me was just really weird of like, wow, like she is not all there, and that's really creepy.
Yeah. I think it was like interesting the way that the actress really portrays this character, because it's like it's weird because I feel like, why are you saying that? Like, why are you like? It's almost
Yeah.
like she's not who she really is, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Like, I wish they had they explained a little bit more about the business. But anyway, continue. Yes.
Yeah. So then, she goes to her house, just out of her family, has dinner with her husband and child. Um, and then she does the business with her husband. But again, you can tell that she's just not all there. Like she's literally
Sexy.
the sexy time.
Yeah,
Like
sexy.
she even in the middle of this, she's hallucinating about killing that guy from the beginning of the film. So
Yeah.
like like she is, like I said earlier, she's just not there. Like she's still in that mindset.
It's almost like when I saw that scene, I almost like assumed that she just wanted to do the same thing to her husband at that point, like almost
I
like
wasn't
fantasizing about
sure.
wanting it.
Like I wasn't sure because just the fact that she was just laying there, like not really responding to anything. Because she was literally just like laying there staring at the ceiling while he's doing his thing.
Yeah,
And it was, yeah, and
cider.
but then like after she witnesses a hallucination, that's when she gets aggressive and starts like biting him and stuff.
Yeah.
So like part of the violence of what she does is like starting to bleed through into her day-to-day stuff, which
It's
is
almost like violence is her new turn on, and she just imagined, penetrating in another way, and then she just got
yeah.
horny out of nowhere. It's
Like
very
violence,
weird.
like violence is her normal at this point,
Yeah.
which is just the weirdest shit. Like I
Hmm.
can't imagine what that must be like. If just like, yeah, like I just killed a guy, no big deal. I got paid for it. And then, like being so used to being in such a violent world and such a bloody environment to just go home and spend time with your family, like obviously that changes something in you.
Yeah.
Not to
And
mention the
always
fact that
lying about
your
the flights.
yeah, not to mention the fact that your soul essentially is bouncing around bodies.
Yeah.
So like that fucks you up too, because like maybe you can't tell if you're still in that body or if you're seeing the right stuff. Like who knows?
Yeah.
Uh, so then she eventually like just that same night she realizes that she just can't do this. Like it's just not in her to be normal anymore. Like she just can't spend normal time with her family. So she just calls her employer and be like, "Hey, like I'm ready to go. Give me a new target."
She didn't even like last like a day. She was like, "Yeah, I'm good."
She's over here like, "Let me get that violence. Let me get the blood." Yeah, and that's kind of where the movie itself starts, I guess. Like this is where the main plot really starts. So this is when they give her the mission, like, hey, here's what you're going to be doing, here's who you're going to be, and here's how you're going to be doing what you need to do in order to get close to this person and kill the target. So like you're like, hey, yeah, you're going to be you need to kill the boss of this corporation, like the CEO of this company. But you're going to be playing the role of his daughter's boyfriend who works for him. And the way you're going to do it is, you're going to start acting weird leading up to like the next 3 or 4 days, kind of like something nearing a breakdown. And at one point, you're supposed to snap and kill everybody. And like that's how we're going to explain it. That's how it's not going to get traced back to us because they're just like, oh, he just snapped.
Yeah.
So that way, nobody, they just think it was his fault instead of the company that that's sending her out to kill this person. And that's when you get to see exactly how they do it, because what they do is they just like kidnap the person essentially and put like the some type of chip in the back of their head, which explains why the girl was like putting an aux cord in her brain.
In the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, at the beginning. And they tell her it's like, hey, like you have a certain amount of time to do this because I think it was like 3 days. Within, after the 3 days, you're gonna get permanent brain damage. Like there's no coming back from that. Like we'll still be able to pull you out, but you will have permanent damage.
You were already damaged, but anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so they're like, yeah, you got some time. Go ahead and prep up. So she literally like rents out like a hotel room or something across from where this man lives, and she's just studying him, stalking him, and learning how he talks, how he moves. It's so, in other words, when she does transfer over to his body, you wouldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
And then that's when you see her doing the same thing that she did in front of the house, where she's practicing how he talks and like his inflection and the way he uses certain words and that kind of stuff. So like, holy shit. You're like, okay, like she knows what she's doing. She's a pro at
That was
this.
so creepy though. It's just she's just
Yeah.
outside
Cause
staring at him. And I'm like, it's to the point that I don't know. I don't remember if in this scene it happened. I know that it happened later on. But it's just the fact I was like, did she just straight up watch them fuck?
I'm
Just
pretty sure she
even
did.
like to memorize the way that he moves, like that's literally so
Yeah.
weird. The way he talks, the way he just does everything. It's
Yeah. Like she had to study every single minute like physical motion that he does to make sure that she gets it 100% right.
yeah.
And um and even then that's also when you see something in this main character. She shows little to no emotion whatsoever. She is a blank slate, which is just, I don't know if it's part of like the aftermath of all the stuff that she needs to go through, or just like how she is literally a blank slate and has to make herself into a person. So that's very interesting as well, because like the acting is really well done. Because I think they did it. Obviously they did it on purpose. Of like, hey, you show like almost no emotion, and when you do show emotion, you can tell that it's forced because you're pretending to show emotion. Like, yeah, I'm like going way too deep into this right now.
Yeah, it's just my microphone's not behaving right now. But yeah. So like you know how every time I talk, like sometimes you'll hear my lips move, but my mic doesn't pick it up.
Mm,
Yeah, it's doing that kind of weird thing.
gotcha.
But anyway, yes, exactly. That the character is literally super creepy, and she is. Yeah, so they kidnap the person. They start cutting his head open, and she's just watching this happen.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, this is kind of gross, and that kind of thing. And then when she starts, they send her off to the machine, and then the weird shit starts happening.
Yeah, this is
There's this.
when the visual shit starts to hit the fan.
Oh yeah, I was like, I didn't know that I had signed up for an acid trip, an avant-garde acid trip, but go off. Like,
Welcome to movies with Yussef. Because
to be
this,
fair, I feel like everybody has suggested this movie to us.
mm,
Um, but yeah, it's just did not expect that
yeah,
at
because
all.
you have like literally just like these close-ups of like the characters, and they just randomly just start melting, and then
Yeah,
like unmelting into another person, and there's like these weird like yellow visual filters and like multiple like almost like 3D shots of the same person. Oh,
yeah,
like multiply where they're like multiplied across like the half the screen. It's really weird. It's like that's supposed to be showing like the transfer of the consciousness over into the guy's body. So it's literally like she is melting who she is, transferring over into that new guy, and just like melting into him. And it is weird as hell.
yeah, for sure. That was not. Did not expect that, but
Yeah,
it gets even weirder
yeah.
when I feel like she could have. Well, either way, I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, but this she finally transfers into the guy's body, and yeah, and then just the way that she starts feeling on herself as a guy killed
That
me.
was
I was like,
such a
what
funny
the
moment.
fuck?
Because
I was like,
like cause she wakes up in like the guy's bed, and obviously like that's it is the guy now. It's just her mind is in his body, and she just like goes to her bathroom mirror, starts like checking herself out, like touching her chest, her abs, and then like looks down at his tank.
yeah,
It's like, am I packing?
yeah, like that's her own dick, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So then, of course, that she, I don't know, at that point, what would you call that? They, I don't,
We're just gonna say they because it's technically two people in like one consciousness. I guess we're just gonna say they.
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird to
yeah,
explain that.
yeah.
Um,
So
so we'll just say our main character, I guess.
our main character.
So yeah, that's where you get to see a little bit of their home life, of like their girlfriend and all that stuff, and like you can tell that she's like, yeah, something's a little weird about you today, but she's like, yeah, it's probably nothing. It's probably just him being him or something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And that's when he goes off to work for this like weird corporation. I don't exactly know what this company does, to be honest with you. Cause
It
like
just seems like it's kind of like a curtain land, like almost like a curtain thing, like or anything home decor, like being able to install new materials for that. That's
it's
how
just
I got from it.
it was just weird because like I'm guessing it's like It's like it's a 1984 version of Home Depot.
Yeah.
Cause like they go up to him and they're like, hey, by the way, or like to them, and they're like, hey, by the way, you're gonna be working in blinds and shades today. And he's like, okay. So then they go over to this like room where there's a bunch of people with these weird like VR headsets. He sits down, he picks up
I
his
think
VR
that's
headset.
smart. I think that's so smart. I was like, yo, like,
But it
this
was
is
it was
this
like
could
it was the weirdest thing because like they put on the VR headset and what they're looking at is just themselves on a computer screen and then they have to look at the computer screen. So I'm like, why not just skip that part of it and just look through the computer screen? Like not like the VR section because the VR part was cool, but it's just like you put on the headset and then you look around, you're just sitting in a chair looking at a computer screen. And
yeah.
I'm just like,
I
why?
honestly
That's
think
such a
that's so
weird that's
smart.
such a weird disconnect to
So,
me though.
but the thing is, like, you know how there's some people who are just so nosy at your job
Yeah.
that like they'll look over your shoe like, what are you looking at? And obviously this is when the not safe for work comes in, quite literally. And then
Yeah.
like having to see all those people, and of course in this movie, going on to the next part, he's going through people's webcam almost.
Yes, so it's like a whole
And
invasion of
then
privacy thing too, because the way that he's doing his job is he's literally looking through people's webcams. And then
yeah,
doing the weirdest thing, which is just zooming in on whatever happens to be in the background, hoping it's like a blind or a shade or something. And he's just like, white, blind, grommet panel. And it's just like, what the fuck is the point of this? What kind of job is he doing? Like where he's just
yeah,
looking at blinds and identifying what they are, and it's just like, is this it? It's like, is that his job? To
yeah.
spy at people through their webcams, but look at just their blinds, like not do anything else? That's weird ass shit. Especially because he sees some shit. Like I wonder
Oh, yeah.
because he's literally like identifying this stuff, and then he's like, all right, let me flip over to the next webcam. All right, look at that. There's nothing there. I can't see the blind from this angle. I flip over to the next one, and immediately you just see some dude's dick. Just like, whoa, wait a minute, wait, that's a dick.
Then the other one is like when they start seeing like someone about to have sexy time. There's a lot of sexy time in this movie.
Yeah, this movie has
Um,
some racy scenes in it.
but like the fact that they just stared there for like a good second, I'm like, yo, what
Like
in the
even their
actual
manager, like when they're wearing like the little headphones, even the manager's like, hey, come on, you're moving too slow. Hurry up. Like,
Yeah.
hey, get your head out of the gutter. Get to work. You're supposed to be looking at the
Yeah.
blinds, not at them. Oh man, it's something else. But then that's when this person gets like a weird vision, and they kind of feel a little sick, and you're like, okay, that was kind of weird. There's not really like, any explanation for it. It just kind of happens, and then he just goes on about his day. And um, oh, actually, let me think. Let me go back to that because like after they have that moment, all of a sudden they're in front of the woman's house, like the protagonist's house at one point, and then he's like, "How the fuck did I get over here?" And he goes back to his house, and his girlfriend is there with some of their mutual friends, and they're just like, "Hey, like we missed you. Come over here, do a line with us of cocaine." Like it's just like the most simple thing to them. It's just like, just come over, do some cocaine with us. No big deal.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing.
This is also Vape the movie because nobody ever smokes a cigarette. When they show somebody smoking, it's always a vape.
Oh my gosh,
Like
babe.
which is the funniest thing to me. Um, so then that's when you get a little bit more background on what's going on with this character, like outside of what you're seeing. So that's when you know that he works for his girlfriend's dad's company, and his girlfriend's dad is kind of a sadist, and he literally put them at like the lowest position possible, and it pretty much to just break his spirit.
Yeah.
And like, I'm really like that's just like really fucked up though. Like as a boss, that's really fucked up, and as an employee, the fact that you're putting up with that is fucked up. I'd be like, you know what? this relationship is not gonna work out. Your dad hates my guts. I'm pretty sure I hate his guts. Let's just not deal with this.
Call it quits.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but then, after the whole party scene, we also get like one tiny little scene between our guy and one of the girls at the party, or like the little get together. And he's like, and she says, "Oh, can we be friends again? Your girlfriend said it was okay." And you're like, "Okay, there's some weird history there." So like maybe they might have
The
been,
thing is, like, there's like a picture where they're doing like a line on a picture, and I think he
yeah,
saw them too. And it's
yeah.
like,
He's like, "Who
oh,
is
that's
this?"
fucking weird.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really like weird scene there because you can also tell like there's some kind of history. Like maybe they used to be a couple and they just like broke up and now they're just friends, or
Yeah,
like maybe they just had like a fight. Like you can tell that there's some history, but it's not all revealed.
yeah,
Um, but then after that, we get on to another one of probably the weirdest scene in the movie, I think, which is the other sexy time scene with the guy and his girlfriend, where he starts having these weird blackouts again, and the movie
yeah.
gets weird as hell. Cause like like he
Oh
keeps switching
yeah,
between him and the girl, and then it's the girl and the guy's girlfriend, and like he keeps switching back and forth. And at one point, you see the woman's face and part of her body, but like as the camera pans down, it's the bottom half is the man, so it's penis. And
yeah.
you're
That
like,
shit was funny.
wait, that was like it just came out of nowhere, and like it's like shocking to me, like, cause I'm just like, holy shit, well, like, what is this movie doing?
Yeah, it's just straight up killer pornography. It's serial killer
It
pornography. But anyway,
is. It's weird. It's like because you know how like the Cronenberg stuff is very much like kind of like alien creature type body horror of like this guy's turning into like a monster like in The Fly, or like people's heads explodes like in Scanner, or like Videodrome and that kind of stuff. But this is more of like realistic looking body horror of
yeah,
like literal bodies melded together and faces and that kind of stuff, not necessarily people turning into monsters,
yeah,
which
it's
is just
weird.
really weird.
Sci-fi horror at its
Oh
finest.
yeah, this is great. Um, so after that is when we get to this like party that the girlfriend's dad is throwing, and that's when the character kind of starts to put their plan into motion of killing the target, because it is his target is the girlfriend's dad. So he's like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna, go up and meet him and like be all nice and cordial and stuff. But then I'm gonna start acting up. I'm gonna start getting some drinks in me, acting drunk, getting myself thrown out of the party in public. Because that's
Yeah,
what they asked him. They asked the person to do, like the handler, like, hey, like here's what you need to do next. Get yourself kicked out of the party for by any means necessary. Just make sure that it's public and that everybody can see that you're getting kicked out.
yeah,
And that's what they do. Like they just straight up start a fight with the like they start a fight with the girlfriend's dad. They get forcibly taken out of the party. They're screaming all kinds of obscenities, like, hey, like, I'm a king, you can't stop me. And then the girlfriend tries to stop him, and he's just like, fuck off, you bitch. It's
damn,
ridiculous.
yeah. Shit
And
hits the
yeah,
fan.
it hits a fan real quick. So then, like, after they get taken out of the party forcibly, that's when they sneak back in with a gun, and he notices that the girlfriend and the dad are, around like a kitchen table having a drink. It's like talking about what just happened. And, after the party's done, obviously, so they're just by themselves. So at one point, when she leaves, that's when this person goes into the house, and instead of, again, they're just being ultra violent, they grab a fire poker and then go up to the girlfriend's dad, which, by the way, is Sean Bean from Lord of the Rings and a bunch of other movies. Um, and he's like, can we just not do this? I'm drunk. And of course, the person doesn't say
Yeah.
anything, and then he tries to attack this person, and the killer sort of
Fails.
hits Sean Bean with the fire poker, and just keeps hitting him a couple times,
Yeah.
and the guy isn't dead yet. So he's like, "All right, I got this. Watch what I'm about to do to you." Killer goes ahead and sticks the fire poker in Sean Bean's mouth and starts twisting it. And it is some
Pokes out
gross.
his eye.
It also pokes out his eye. This is
I
some
was like,
gross ass shit too, because
"Ah!"
like it isn't from like a faraway shot or anything. It is a straight up close up, so you get to see
Yeah.
all of this shit and like as close as possible. So like you see like the twist, like the teeth coming out as they're like twisting the poker, the eye coming out of its socket. You're like, holy shit!
She angry.
And she angry. And then that's when the girlfriend comes in. She's like, holy shit! What the fuck are you doing? And she starts running away, and he just shoots at her. He shoots her twice.
Yeah.
Leaves the guy in there to die, and then goes and finish her off. And he's like, all right, I did what I had to do. My mission is completed. Pull me out. Does the same thing as the beginning of the movie. Puts the gun in their mouth, but they can't pull the trigger. And that's when they have like a hella crazy blackout. And this is really when you realize that the dude's consciousness is fighting back. So he's like, I'm taking back my body. Like, you cannot control what I'm doing. So,
Damn.
like, that's when it gets crazy. It's essentially like a fight between the two consciousness. And at one point, it's weird because it's kind of hard to tell, like, who's who. Like, if it's the woman's consciousness or if it's the man's
100%.
consciousness. Which
I
I
was
like.
so confused half the time.
I
was
did like
who
that it
the
kept
fuck
you
is
guessing, though.
who?
Yeah, I like that it kept you guessing, though.
Yeah.
Because the actor who did this, he did a really good job. Because, like, you can kind of tell which one is which one, because like his face he just looks at things differently. Like when he is the guy himself, his eyes are a little wider. He looks around like he's a little bit more scared about what's happening. But when it's the woman, you can tell like the eyes glaze over, the emotion is gone. It's just like it's like a Terminator.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really crazy because they're like, okay, what the fuck? I just killed these two people. What the hell do? I gotta find a place to hide or like to figure out what's going on. So that's when they go over to their friend's house, the one that showed up earlier in the film in the little party scene. And they're like, hey, you gotta help me. Like, I don't know what's happening. I'm freaking out.
I'm kind of fucked.
I'm kind
Yeah.
of fucked.
Then this is where it's kind of confirmed where there was kind of some history behind there.
Yeah.
It's really weird, and as she was about to go on a flight that morning, and then like he tried to play it off like as if him and the girlfriend got into a really big fight.
And she
Kind of
kicked him out and
thing.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's like, can I stay here for 2 days? And I'm like, that's like,
Yeah.
and the girl's like, oh
Oddly
yeah,
specific.
2 nights. But no, like not only that, she's so trusting because like she might be gone for like a week or something, and she's like, you can only stay for 2 nights, and like, what's to stop him from staying more than 2 nights and just doing whatever he wants in there? Like you're placing a lot of trust in this guy that you haven't seen in a while, and he also looks like he just came off a crack bender. And you're like, you know what, you're good. I trust you. You can stay 2 nights. Just leave when the 2 nights are up. And I'm just like, that's stupid.
Oddly trusting of you, but okay, go on.
I appreciate the trust. So at this point, there's after
She goes into the shower.
yes, and you're like, okay, so she goes into the shower, does her thing, but at one point you see, the guy go over there, points a gun at her, and when they cut back to his face, it's not his face anymore, it's the woman.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh shit, she took over again. And then after that, they just cut to something else. So the guy just like wakes up and he hears a knock at the door. He's like, all right, let me go check this out. And it's one of his coworkers from the company that he works
Eddie.
at.
I think his name is Eddie. I think.
Eddie? Yeah, I think it was Eddie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, like, what's been going on, man? Like, you haven't seen you for a little bit. And And
Go
like
fetch me a drink.
Go fetch me a drink. Yes.
Mm.
And some other crazy stuff. Like I don't know exactly what.
No, what happened? It was that he said, "Go fetch me a drink," because he said that the girl called him over to check up on him, and then
Yeah.
he's like, "Go fetch me a drink." He goes, shoots him with some weird. I don't think it was a gun because
I think
he's
it was a
not
taser.
dead,
It was like a taser or
like a
something.
taser,
Yeah.
and then obviously wakes up, and then obviously realizes that this Eddie person, the coworker, is a really big fan of the assassin woman and like the killings that she has done
Yeah,
by taking over other people's bodies.
because they are part of the company as well. So like, because
Yeah,
they're like, hey, like I'm here to help you get back under control. Like I'm here to make sure that your consciousness stays in the body and like there's no fighting between the two of you. And so they hook the guy up to this like weird machine that's like almost like a little like tape deck or something. And they're like, hey,
yeah,
like here's what's gonna happen. Like I'm gonna test your breathing. I'm gonna test some stuff. This next thing is gonna be a little weird. So So like they're showing these close-ups of the guy just laying in the bed, and all of a sudden it goes to like a red filter, and it's the woman's body, and then it clicks back, and then it
yeah,
clicks on again to the woman with the red filter, and then it clicks back to the guy. And every time they do that, you see the guy's consciousness and his essentially his body coming closer until he
yeah.
literally lays on top of her body, and then we get some more weird shit because
Apparently, her in a mask, and that shit was fucking weird.
that shit was weird because like what he does is he lays on top of her, grabs her face, or like first of all he chokes her, and you can tell that like the real body is like freaking out because like it's choking too. So
Yeah,
that's when you're like seeing that the two minds are fighting against each other, and then the guy's consciousness just grabs her face and literally pops it like a balloon. Like it doesn't even there's no blood. It just literally just pops.
yeah, and it realized it's like a mask
Yeah, and it's weird
that
because he
he
like
grabbed.
pulls it off and like it's like like a weird like twisted mask of her face, and this dude just
Yeah,
puts it on and it's like really creepy looking.
yeah, and then so all the previous scenes that we have seen earlier during her life, we start seeing it as her with the mask, him with the mask on,
Yeah, it's like
not
from
necessarily her. And it's really weird because then her with the kid looks really fucking weird.
yeah.
Her him technically having sex with the
That one like
husband looks
freaked me
really
out too.
weird.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a little too much.
Yeah, I guess it's like he's experiencing the most recent things that she experienced,
Hmm.
and then and then all randomly just all cuts out, and when they wake up, Eddie's just dead, lying in a pool of blood, and this person's like, "Oh fuck, I gotta get out of here."
And then
So
realizes they go to the bathroom and then they actually killed the girl
and
too.
also killed the
So
poor woman.
all sorts of shit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what was interesting is like when they had that fight, that's when he noticed, okay, she has a history. I can try and trace this back to her. So like I can figure
Yeah.
out how to get back into this or like how to release her. So all right, he's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go over to her house, and he has this like really weird conversation with her kid of like like hey what's your name and how old are you and like is that your house and that kind of stuff. And I'm over here like, kid, stranger danger. Like, why would you just continue to tell this man information that this man you've never met before?
Yeah.
And then after that, the dad
Kids
calls
don't
him.
believe in stranger danger anymore. Let's be
They
real here.
don't. They really don't, unfortunately. But yeah, that's when the dad calls him over, and they just go home, and some time passes by, and the guy is by himself. The dad is with the kids sleeping upstairs, and he hears a knock at the door. He goes to check on it, and it is this person. He's like, "Hey, I'm a friend of Voss, the main character. She asked me to come here and ask you and tell you something." And he's like, "All right, what you got to tell me?" And he just kicks the door open, and starts attacking this man. literally stabbing him to death again with I guess a very similar or with like a meat cleaver, doing the same stuff that she did at the beginning, where it's just like over and over again, just chop, 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 like does not stop for quite a bit. And then downstairs, here comes the kid, and
Oh, weird.
this is
So
where
weird.
shit gets really weird. So then the kid, goes up and shoots the dude with a gun. So your first question is, where the fuck did this kid get a gun
So
from?
backtrack a little bit is that there was a scene where he was trying to intimidate Voss, like trying to get her out by threatening to shoot the husband or kill the husband,
Mm,
and then she was like, "Oh, like do it. It's your body. You're the one in control. I'm not doing shit. That's you, bro."
yeah.
Like, and then he's like, "Nah," like trying to like basically like bribe her into like
Yeah,
getting out kind of
kind
thing.
of just being like, just please get out of my body. I need to be in my own body type of thing. Like, please get out.
Yeah, and then that's when eventually it goes chop 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 chop, that kind of thing. Then kid comes down with a gun, being a badass, do do do, yeah, that kind of thing. So
Yeah. So then, that happens where the kid shoots this guy. Guy is, in a pool of blood, shoots the kid 3 times, one shot hitting him in the face. So you're like, holy fuck, they just killed a kid in this movie.
yeah, I was like really surprised about that. I was
Yeah.
like,
But then this is when things get weird, because then they do a close up of the kid, and as the kid is laying there, he says, "Pull me out," and you're like, "Oh fuck, he was one of them."
look,
Like he took over the kid's body.
damn,
Like holy shit.
damn,
Like whoa, that was really unexpected actually for me.
yeah,
Because I'm just thinking, oh, like the movie's gonna end with, this kid defending his dad, shooting this person that he doesn't know, but secretly, he didn't know it was his mom, so he essentially just killed his own mother.
yeah,
But no, they literally did that on purpose. So then the guy's body could die, and her mind could be pulled back into her own body. And that shit was trippy as hell.
yeah. But
Because
then you
then,
also realize that, like, well, this is like towards the end, right?
yeah.
So basically, like after they kind of both die, like you also see the girl that also had the line that did the line with the guy that they had a history.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so she was alive this entire time? What?
Huh?
Like, yeah, I was like, I don't understand. I'm so confused. What
Yeah,
the
that was
fuck?
that little bit there was a little confusing because I was like, okay, wait. She got shot. So how is she here?
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
That
But
was really weird.
what I liked about this shot specifically is they kind of pan up so you see like a bird's eye view almost of the two bodies laying together, the kid and the man. And if you look at their trails of blood, they make the wings of the butterfly that we saw at the beginning of the movie,
Yeah,
which was a really nice little detail. And then the movie cuts to black, and that's when they pull the woman out of the machine, and she's like, "Holy shit, that was fucking intense!" Because she had actually been there more than she was supposed to, so it's possible that she has permanent damage at this point. And that the person that played the kid was sent in there to help her pull out.
yeah,
And this is when we get our ending where they're doing the same interview. It's like, hey, like they give her the box of stuff. Do you know what this is? She's like, yep, it's my grandfather's pipe. He gave it to my dad, who then gave it to me. All that stuff. And then they give her the box of the butterfly. She's like, yeah, this is a butterfly I killed when I was a kid. And the movie ends. So that's when you notice that there's been another change in her, because she doesn't say that she's felt guilty about it all this
guilty
time.
about it. Yeah, I thought
So
I was like she didn't feel guilty about it, so I was like,
not
oh,
anymore. It's like that guilt is gone. Like I'm even more of a killing machine now. Like because at this point the damage I guess is too much. So like she's
yeah,
essentially lost more emotion, if that
yeah.
was even possible.
I really liked that detail. I was like,
Hmm.
damn, like they didn't even mention that she felt guilty about it. She was just,
And then no, and then she smiles. She's
yeah,
like, "Yep, this is a butterfly I killed when I was a kid," and then she smiles. and the movie
Like,
ends, and you're like, "What
I
the
like that.
fuck? That was crazy."
Yeah, so this movie was fucking weird.
Yeah, it was weird, but it was really well acted. It was beautifully shot. Like I
Oh
really
yeah,
like the production design. I've always found that look of like very clean, like straight line sci-fi kind of
yeah,
off-putting, because like
yeah,
nothing in the world looks that clean, nothing in the world looks that organized,
yeah,
and I'm just like that. Something about that is just so alien to me because nothing is supposed to look like that.
yeah.
And and again, even like the visual stuff too, like those visual like pieces were very avant-garde. They were very weird, very interesting, very very trippy.
Telling me, I was like, I need to lay off some shit. I don't know what the fuck I took. I was like clearly this movie's doing something to me. I don't know. Like I'm really surprised by the direction that now horror is taking with
hmm
trippy, disturbing, and they're not like scared of going over that barrier of disturbingness now. It's
Yeah.
very interesting how that's happening. Like right now, I mean, nothing wrong with that, but it takes, like for example, Midsummer is definitely one of those movies that are like super beautifully shot and all this other stuff. It's almost like a witchy cult, but it looks very nice. Like basically, like, oh, we joined the hippie, like getaway with the family to reach like your inner like peace and
hmm
like reach your higher self. But then in all reality, we're just here to all kill you and turn you into beautiful avant-garde flower pieces.
Yeah.
So we
It's
love
art.
that. Like,
It's actually the
like
Epcot Flower and Garden Festival.
oh yeah, but
So Midsummer is actually the Flower and Garden Festival. That's my
yeah.
new fan theory. That's how they make. That's how they get the flowers for the Flower and Garden Festival.
Yeah, so it's like that's what I like about like those movies are like now super daring and taking like all
Yeah,
these steps to like
definitely. Like, there's a lot of movies that are pushing the envelope in horror. Like, like this movie, Possessor, Midsummer, Hereditary, The Lighthouse, The Witch. Like these types of movies
uh,
are really
hereditary, hereditary.
are really
Oh
like
my god!
starting. Yeah, like these are movies that are they're not like in your face blood and guts everywhere. They're a lot more thoughtful. They're a lot more about like the emotion behind everything
And the
more than
mind
just
fuck.
yeah, it's more about like
They
messing with
love the
your
mind fuck
yeah, like more
psyche.
about like messing with your psyche and that kind of stuff. It's a lot more realistic horror too because I just like it's relatable horror of like hey, like we've lost a family member, like I feel like I can't connect with people anymore, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the fact that these movies are coming out and they're doing so well and they're so well made is honestly like the new type of horror movie, I think. Like
So
even the
surprised that we haven't
movie
gotten an Oscar for anything.
yeah.
Apparently, Candyman's getting hella recognition and breaking hella box
It
office right
yeah, it is. Right
now. So
now it got confirmed that Nia DaCosta is the first African American woman to hold the number one spot at the box office.
yes,
And
ma'am.
even then, a movie like Candyman, I'm not gonna spoil anything on Candyman. I'm gonna say this:
I haven't seen it.
it is a very slow and deep and thoughtful movie. It's not gore all over the place. It has those moments, but it does take its time to get to them, and they feel earned. Like
Yeah.
it does take the time to explore the characters and explore what's going on before it goes crazy. So the fact that these movies are doing that, they're taking their time, they're exploring more of the characters instead of just like here's people being killed left and right. And Possessor is definitely one of those types of movies. Cause, if you strip away all the sci-fi horror elements out of it, it's pretty much the story of literally a woman that has to pretend to be somebody else to connect to other people. Like she's
Mm.
just completely disassociated from society at this point, which is a very real thing that's happening. It is very much a mental health issue. especially
Yeah.
during the pandemic when people were shut in. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't go anywhere. Like they essentially disassociated.
And imagine this movie coming out last year in
Yeah,
2020.
yeah. Because this movie literally came out in the middle of last year. So I'm just like, that's terrific. Thank you.
Yeah. 2019 was a time of shooting a lot of movies and, at least making them perfect before they had all the time in the world to edit
Yeah, they really
and
did.
create
Had a good amount of
posts.
time. But do you have any other thoughts on the movie? Like, what are some things that you liked and didn't like about it?
Hello, hello, microphone, please work. Um, for me, it was definitely what I really love is the element of being able to connect something like basically the butterfly thing is like my favorite thing on
Hmm.
there because it's just like because that in the beginning we see that she's like, oh, like this is a butterfly that I killed. I like didn't like I felt bad for killing it. Then at the end, like, it's like, oh, like I just killed this butterfly as a kid. Yeah, no biggie. I really liked I feel like there's like a lot of symbolism in this movie as well.
Oh yeah.
Um and with the fact that it's just so I'm not into like a lot of sci-fi horror, and it's crazy when you told me to watch this movie because I had just recently watched The Fly for the first time this year,
Hmm.
and like and that shit was already a mind fuck within itself. But I enjoyed it though. I was like, wow, like where are all these movies? Where have these movies been all my life? But it was definitely I really like the trippy and being able to think very deeply on a deeper level. And another movie that I kind of compare it to is Us.
Hmm.
Um, so because it's having to deal with um, being someone else, pretending, mimicking what they're doing, just to be able to reach a higher goal, which is basically what they both have in common.
Hmm.
But because the other person basically switched lives, and then they had to pretend to be normal, and then the other one was trying to like
Go back to their
dominate to
old
get her
life. Yeah.
to go back to their old life. But obviously, that's the only con that this has with Possessor is that at that point she's just a killing machine, but she had to pretend to be someone else,
Hmm.
kill and that kind of thing. The only thing I didn't like is just the message could have been delivered a little bit better.
Okay.
So that's why I was like mostly confused when I watched this movie. I was like, wait, so did the woman die? Did the woman not die? Why is the kid a part of this now? Why is a child dying on screen? I'm like, not that I care. They've already been killing animals and
Hmm.
in screens. So at that point, like if you're gonna kill like animal at that point, just kill a child.
Yeah. I
Then
mean,
all the boundaries are crossed. I just there at this point we just need a movie that I'm pretty sure it exists somewhere. You're probably gonna name one off the top of your head. I don't. I've never seen it. It's like someone kills someone out of pure joy and just
um,
necrophilia. All of that.
jeez, Jesus.
It's getting to that point. This horror is getting to that point. Like Midsummer when we have the boyfriend mate with that one girl and all of those people are just there encouraging and mimicking the moaning noises. It's getting there. Horror is getting there. They don't give no fucks
They
at
don't
that
pull any
point. I'm like
punches. Yeah.
like
Well, the
where
reason
is
the reason that I think that the scene with the kid is shocking is because in this day and age it's still considered slightly taboo to show the death of a child on screen, to like show
yeah.
somebody killing a kid on screen. It's very rare that they'll show that because it
Mhm.
doesn't happen often. Like I know one of the bigger movies that did it like back in the 70s was Assault on Precinct 13 because they literally show a kid getting shot. And like I said, movies don't do that often. Like even when like when they do kill a child, it's usually done off screen or they allude to it, but they don't actually show it. But this movie didn't
Yeah.
pull any punches. This movie's like, no, this kid gets 3 shots, and then one of those shots is going to the head because they even show like the
Yeah.
brain splatter go back. Yeah, so
Yeah.
like,
It also made me think when it comes to like films. you see like those really mass shootings of like where families and mothers are being killed and all this other thing. You see this hysteria that is caused within a scene, and you know that there's children and parents there, but they don't show it. They don't show dead children like that. Or if not, like another example. It's a really off example. I wouldn't consider this a horror film. It's a horror film within its own right. Historically, is like
Okay.
Schindler's List.
Schindler's
List. Like
Schindler.
I can't say.
Schindler's
I dare not.
I haven't
I'm
had
not
anything.
German.
Listen, I haven't had anything to drink, but I really want to watch Schindler's List.
I fucking hate you. Please don't create a hashtag after that. But yeah, that movie literally, like, it shows the death of a child too.
Yeah, it does like, show real life horror.
Real life horror, which is like this girl, which is the red. The red could mean so many things. It could mean that it's all the only color and hope that there is left in the world, but it also represents the blood splatter of all the Jews that died.
Yeah,
kind of thing. It's like it's kind of like hope is lost. It gets stripped off.
Mm-hmm. Like I actually always saw it as this is one of the last innocent, pure things in this world, and to see that got snuffed out in Schindler's List, like holy shit! That's why it was so impactful to be. That was the only color you see in that film, especially when you see it again when the girl has passed away, or like when the girl has been killed. You're like, wow, they went so far as to do that.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
So
before I talk a little bit more about the movie itself, though, what would be your ranking of this out of 10?
I would give it like 4.5 out of 5.
I said out of 10, girl.
Oh, out of 10. Okay. Hey, I thought you said 4.5.
I'm over here like a 4 point. Damn, did you hate this movie?
No. Wow. No, first of all, I think about the little 5 stars. I've been watching a lot of movies where I just go by the stars now, and now I just take 5 or something. So basically, my ranking would be 9.5 out of 10. It's because there is like very good storytelling. It makes you think. There's a lot of good visuals. The camera work was really good in the sense of telling the story, being able to see and interact with the characters by who's who for the most part, and then like also the use of color like within like the film, especially like one of the other scenes that stood out to me was when she was at the job, and you can tell that like he worked at a very lower position because like you saw like the scene was all like greenish brown. It looks very miserable.
Yeah.
Like it's like groggy, and you could tell like there's just like a lot of like, you know, he's there in a shitty. It was a very shitty thing to be working at, but it was a job, you know.
And even like the fact that they had everybody sitting so close together, like all just like bunched up together. It was just like kind of like the whole worker bee mentality of it. Like you're just one in like a million, so like you could literally not be in this job, we'll just replace you with somebody else. Like it just gives you that vibe.
Yeah,
so like a very totalitarian workspace.
Yeah, for me, I just enjoy mostly the use of color in this film, because I think color is everything in a film. Honestly, like just being able to read the room, which is why The Shining is such a good movie. I know it's not remotely any closer to the actual book. I know that there was like some things going on between the book and the movie but The Shining uses color to tell the opposite
like feeling
that's happening in the scene, which is why I enjoy The Shining so much. So yeah. Those are my thoughts. What about you? What's your ranking? What are your...
I don't really like to use decimal points. I just because I think they're like way too specific. At least for me, you can use them. That's on you. I don't mind them. I personally would give it a 9 out of 10. The only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 is because at one point it does feel like it kind of drags a little bit. Like it does kind of it slows
100%.
down a little bit too much at one point.
Yeah.
But outside of that, the movie is incredible. It is a beautiful movie to look at. The overall premise was really interesting. Like you said too, the use of color, and the use of the production design of like the minimalist, clean sci-fi look was very, very well done. The acting was pretty good. Obviously, all the crazy like visual segments were ridiculously interesting and like definitely kept my head spinning for a little bit because I was like, "What the fuck did I just watch?" um, and overall, I think it was just a really well made movie, and also the overall subtext of like the symbolism in the movie and like what everything is kind of being shown to you underneath, the flashy visuals and the sci-fi horror stuff. Like just the overall simple plot of it is interesting. So yeah, with that, I would just have to give it a 9 out of 10.
That's
Yeah.
about right.
So I definitely recommend that you check it out. It is on Hulu at the moment, so if you have Hulu, you can take a look at it. Um, just be prepared for some weird visuals, some truly over the top gore, which I wasn't expecting honestly,
And sexy time.
and a lot of sexy time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really like our analysis and our thoughts on Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor. So
Another movie review done.
yeah, hopefully we had some more movie reviews done pretty soon. We actually have some good big plans for October that I we cannot wait to share with you. We're actually going to be sharing that pretty soon, actually, just because I'm trying to schedule all of that together right now, so that way we have like a plan of when we're going to do them. But keep your eyes peeled for
Yeah.
that. But really, that's all we have to say there. Before we do our housekeeping, we do have to mention one thing. At the time of this episode's release, we are 4 days away from Horror Nights. We're almost
Yeah.
we're almost fucking there,
Yeah,
and
it's a lot of things to take in,
the hype
and
is too
it's
real.
opening weekend is gonna be
The
wild.
hype is too real because I literally have work scheduled every day until Friday, so I will be off for opening day. So my mind is literally like, just you can survive. It's just 4 days. You can survive 4 days, and you'll be extremely handsomely rewarded with Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah,
Just
I'm the same
survive.
way. I'm gonna be
Oh man.
working almost every day until Friday. Friday is my day off, but then I go back into work at 9 a.m. On Saturday, and I'm like, "Yo, fuck me in the ass and call me a bitch." Like, what the fuck? Like,
It's gonna be interesting, yeah. Cause I'm gonna be back to work at 10 the next day too. So like, here we go. But
yeah,
yeah, we're very excited for that. We're definitely gonna be making a video of that at some point too. Of like us walking through the scare zones, seeing all the beautiful actors, the beautiful people over there, and we're excited. So,
yeah.
but yeah, it is now time for housekeeping. So we're gonna start off with you, Vania. Where can we find you?
You can find me at HHN Cultist on Twitter and on YouTube if you like anything makeup, theme parks, Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies, you name it. Gonna try and put out some content before Halloween Horror Nights, if not after Horror Nights, because I do have something planned to do for opening night
Ooh.
to make a interesting video, but hopefully it turns out and I don't get super distracted where I forget to record footage. But there's also other interesting people in this podcast, and that would be
Yes.
you, Yusuf. Where could you be found?
So you can find me on Instagram at Yusuf1220 and on Twitter at itbeyusuf. I just post a lot of random shit on Twitter, honestly. Like just today, I
Yeah.
posted about wanting sushi because I really wanted sushi. um, but outside of that, we do have our podcast. If you're looking for our socials, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as Sounds from the Grave. And then if you want to listen to our podcast, we are on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else you can get podcasts. Um, And we also have
YouTube.
our in our YouTube channel. Yes, we do have one of our more recent videos is our vlog when we went to Universal, walked through some of the scare zones, walked through the All Hallows Eve boutique. So if you want to check that out, you can go ahead and do so on our YouTube. And then we also do have our email. It is soundsfromthegravepodcast@gmail.com. So if you want to talk to us about anything or send us an email, we'll read it out on the podcast at one point if we get anything. So
Yes.
yeah, we will. And if you want to be on the podcast, if you want to guest on something or have anything to say, please do not hesitate. We would love to have a guest on the show again. Those are always fun episodes.
Yeah, those are always so fun.
But yes, that is really all we have. We hope you guys enjoyed the episode and that we got to give you an idea to watch a new movie now.
Yeah, I hope you guys don't get too mind fucked. So
Yeah, but yeah, I hope that you guys have a good night and good day or whenever you're listening to this, and that you stay spooky.
stay spooky. Good night, guys.
Bye, everybody.